What's up, Guardians, and welcome back, Titans. I'm Profane, thanks for checking out the video. We're about to see a lot of changes to the Destiny sandbox, and when the Edge of Fate launches, you're gonna need some reliable builds to get you through the new campaign and all the new endgame content that this expansion brings. So today we're gonna be checking out 3 incredible builds that will get you through anything that this expansion throws at you. Before we get started, if you do end up enjoying the video, then please be sure to hit that like button below, along with the subscribe button if you're new. Both are greatly appreciated and really help out when it comes to the algorithm. With that out of the way, let's talk about what kind of crayons Titans are going to be eating in this new expansion. The first build that we're going to check out is an Arc build featuring the insurmountable Skull Fort. This exotic comes with the Transfusion Matrix intrinsic trait, which triggers health regeneration whenever defeating enemies with powered melees. When you defeat an enemy with a powered melee, you get your melee energy restored. You also receive melee energy when landing powered and unpowered melee hits, and that even works with glaives. And with some of the upcoming changes, like the nerf to recuperation and other healing sources, this is going to be a very reliable option that will keep you alive as you tear through enemies. And with how the new armor system works, we could give ourselves as much as a 30% bonus in melee damage. But we would have to have a total of 200 points towards our melee stat for that to happen. This would also massively improve the regeneration and cooldown of our melee energy. It might be difficult at first to obtain armor that's going to allow you to reach 200 in multiple stats, but if you come in short, you may want to consider using armor fonts, as these are going to boost your stats when armor charges are active. With 1 font equipped, you would gain a 20-point stat increase, 2 mods would provide 40, and 3 would give you 50 extra points, so you could still easily reach 200 if you could at least get your melee stat to the 150 to 160 range. In addition to the bonus damage that our armor can provide us, we'll have the benefit of bonus damage coming from the knockout aspect and the spark of feedback fragment. With all the extra melee damage and energy that we'll have, we want to make sure that we're using the hands-on helmet mod, which will provide us with a ton of extra super energy as we defeat enemies with our melee. If we invest heavily into our super stat, we could give ourselves as much as a 45% bonus in super damage, with a 190% bonus to any source of super energy gains. So not only would this build provide you with a ton of health regeneration to keep you alive under tough situations, but you'll have overpowered melee attacks supercharging your overpowered Thunder Crash. And we haven't even mentioned all the benefits that Storm's Keep and Bolt Charges will continue to provide throughout this new expansion. There's going to be a lot of strong artifact mods that we can use with this build, and the ones that have Elemental in their title are the ones that we should consider using. Elemental Days will be an incredible option to use when champions are present. Elemental Coalescence will provide us with Ionic Traces, which grant a significant amount of extra melee, grenade, and class energy. And Elemental Overdrive will provide our arc weapons with increased damage after collecting Ionic Traces. Because this build is completely oriented around melee use, we could easily integrate in a lot of high-powered shotguns, especially those that are arc. Shotguns with 1-2 punch or trench barrel would be amongst the strongest candidates. But there's also options like the Chaperone, the Conditional Finality, or the Tractor Cannon, which would all work out great with this build. Exotics like the Thunderlord, Queenbreaker, Anarchy, and Trinity Ghoul would also prove to be very strong options. To make a copy of this build or any of the other incredible builds that we mentioned today, be sure to check out my Mobalytics and dim links, which are down below. And now we move on to our second build, which is a Strand build that utilizes Banner of War and the Syntheseps. There's not a lot that's changed about this build overall, but with the changes to recuperation and other healing sources, having a consistent supply of damage resistance from Woven Mail and bonus health regeneration from Banner of War is going to be extremely beneficial, especially in those harder activities like the Legendary Campaign. And by using the Syntheseps, we'll give ourselves a massive bonus in melee and super damage as long as we're surrounded by enemies, which does mean that we'll need to be investing a lot of character stats towards melee and super, just like we would with the insurmountable Skull Fort build. And remember that armor fonts will be a great way to boost one of those stats. At its max, Banner of War provides 20 points of health every second, and that's granted to any ally that's standing within it, which means that this will make for a great team support build, and that could be an invaluable benefit when that new raid contest starts. The only problem that you'll have when using this in team settings is that you run the risk of teammates taking your tangles, and that can make a big difference towards this build's performance, because we are using the combination of Threat of Warding and Into the Fray, so we need to be proactive on collecting our own tangles if we expect to maintain Woven Mail. There's a lot of great synergy to be had from some of our new artifact mods, one of which is Elemental Coalescence, which is going to help us create extra tangles. Threaded Blast will create explosions when tangles are destroyed, and with Tangled Web will create suspending detonations whenever we defeat enemies who are debuffed by Sever or Unravel, which most every enemy will be, so this will give us a massive advantage in terms of crowd control. Shield Crush will be one of the most beneficial artifact mods to use with this build, as this provides a 25% increase to the damage and regeneration of our melee whenever we have Woven Mail active. Just like the Insurmountable build, this will benefit from the use of shotguns and glaives. Exotics like the Monte Carlo, Quicksilver Storm, and Navigator will be some great exotic options as well. And because it applies weakening against enemies, the Tractor Cannon would be an excellent choice, especially since you're going to be up close and personal to most of your enemies. But we could also trigger that weakening with the use of the Buried Bloodline, or Void Weapons with Withering Gaze. Before we dig deeper into these builds, I'd like to take an opportunity to give a special shout out and thank you to Engineeeeer. I spend anywhere between 60 and 80 hours a week at my desk, so having a comfortable chair is definitely priority. So I was excited for the opportunity from Engineeeeer to try out the Kaiser Extra Large Gaming Chair. This is the chair of dreams, my friends. I'm a tall guy, and it's not always easy to find a chair that has ergonomic features that actually work with my frame, which means shopping at places like Walmart usually lead to disaster. But I'll be damned if the Kaiser XL wasn't just big enough to fit me, it actually felt like I was sitting in my own personal throne, and that's made gaming and content creating so much better for me. It was really easy to set up, it only took about 10 minutes in total, and all the cardboard packaging made for great entertainment with my toddler. But they don't just make chairs for giants, they make chairs to fit everyone, and they're honestly not really as expensive as I ever would have imagined. I'm pretty sure they even have some specials going on right now. So if you're in need of better support and more comfort out of your gaming chair, then I would definitely advise to check out what Engineeeeer has to offer, and you can find a website link down below. And with that, we move on to our final build, which revolves around the use of the Hazardous Propulsion exotic chess piece. This provides the Danger Close intrinsic trait, which provides two incredible benefits. The first is that we'll be able to build up Exodus rockets, which are released whenever we use our class ability. We can release as many as 6 rockets at a time, which deal kinetic damage, and if we were to land hits with all 6 rockets, then we would gain a 35% increase in damage to any weapon that uses rockets. This includes rocket-assisted sidearms and pulse rifles, rocket launchers, and even the Ergo Sum when Wolfpack rounds are active. It also includes the Grand Overture's rocket volley, so we're going to be able to crank out a lot of damage with this exotic, and it's going to work out great on any subclass, but I think you'll find the most success when running it on Arc, Solar, and Prismatic. We get the benefits of Storm's Keep and Bolt Charges whenever using the Arc subclass, but there's a lot of benefits that our new artifact will provide to solar energies, like Fever and Chill, which grants us Radiance whenever landing precision hits with solar weapons. Radiance would give us a 20% increase in damage, which would make the Hazardous Propulsion even more effective. The inclusion of Restoration could really help us out in terms of survival, which is another reason that the Solar subclass would be a great option. But with a mixture of light and dark abilities at your disposal, the Prismatic subclass is ultimately going to be the best. Regardless of what subclass you go with, when it comes to the armor, the main 2 stats to focus on will be weapons and class energy. Maxing out our weapon stat would give our primary and secondary weapons a 15% bonus in damage, and our heavy weapons would gain a 10% increase whenever used against boss level enemies, and that will stack with weapon surge mods and radiance, giving us a significant advantage in terms of overall damage. If you are trying to increase the damage of the Exodus rockets themselves, then you'll need to be sure to use kinetic weapon surge mods. We still have to build up charges of Exodus rockets before we can gain the full benefits of our exotic perks, so unless we are using the Arc subclass with Storm's Keep, we don't really have to worry as much about getting our class energy to 200. But we would like to get it to at least 70, if not higher, which should leave us with enough swing room in our character stats to focus a little bit towards our super, which is just going to help us out even more when it comes to damage phases. What I like most about running the Hazardous Propulsion is that it allows you to play within your own comfort zone. If you want to be aggressive, you certainly can be, but you still have the freedom to stay back and pick things off from a distance, whereas the other 2 builds that we talked about are much more up close and personal. But with that, we have ourselves 3 incredible builds that will dominate at any level of content and Edge of Fate. So if you're a new or returning player looking for a great build to get back into the swing of things, then be sure to check out the builds that we've mentioned today. If you are trying to copy any of today's builds, then be sure to use the Mobilytics or dim links that are down below. You're also going to find a link to an incredible armor planner spreadsheet, which has been provided to us by Engineeeer, and you can check out his website here on YouTube. I'd love to hear your thoughts about today's builds, and what builds you'll be running in Edge of Fate. Let us know down in the comments below. Thank you as always for checking out the video. If you enjoyed and found it helpful, then be sure to hit that like button below, along with the subscribe button if you're new. Both are greatly appreciated, and both really do help support the channel. And until next time, Guardians, this has been Profane, wishing you all some happy hunting.